Hey there. I wanted to get on. There's so much going on. It's been a week. It has been crazy. And there has just been so much chaos going on and I understand that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And that's barely even touching upon the collective, not even focusing in on the US elections. So, regardless of where you stand, regardless of what you believe, if you are conscious and have come here, there are things for us to look at from a conscious perspective and easy ways that we can glide through if we just really remember these basics. Okay. So there's sort of four, but really three. The first one is to really be hyper aware of the ego versus the guidance. So anything that goes into anxiety, fear, anger, chitter chatter, what if, oh my God, I can't believe this, frustration, all of that's ego. My understanding, and there's nothing wrong with the ego. The ego is not bad. It is so vilified in spiritual circles, but it's really just the creation of exploration of individuality and, identity and separation and exclusion. So when we come to that understanding and we understand that's what our individual journeys are about, we can then transcend, see what the ego wants, but also see the bigger picture. So when we dedicate ourselves to that higher perspective and to really allow both to exist within ourselves instead of trying to deny one or the other, it's important to recognize the ego for what it's there to do. I will be honest. I know a lot of people in the spiritual community, they don't want people to know that they get angry or upset, and they just want to be, all airy fairy and happy all the time. Here's the thing. We're still going through the human experience. The key difference in consciousness is to say, you know what? I see the ego. I see you. I honor you, and I'm going to give you this much time to get through your stuff, and then we will reassess. Typically, this is really important because it's vital for us to be able to hear the ego and observe it so that then we can flip your mirror around and look inside and say, why am I freaking out? Like, what's the trigger? Because from a conscious standpoint, everything that triggers us has nothing to do with what's around us. It's all what's inside. And that's a tough pill for us to swallow sometimes. But when we start to transcend and observe, then we realize it's such a huge opportunity for growth. Okay. So the first step, really sort of the pre-step, is to be in notice of the ego and how it's reacting. That's going to be so important moving forward because we have so much chaos going on, and it's going to get worse before it gets better, is my understanding. So why not just take note of this from the beginning? I will say, again, I'll go back to, I admit I had a funk. I hit a wall last week. There was a lot that came up for me, but I've also been going through a lot of self-healing work, having to do with some really deep radical heart resolutions and stuff like that. So it was sort of a cherry on top of the sundae. And then after that, I just said, okay, all right, I'm going to step back. And here's the thing. I'll give you 7 days. I'll give you a week because I know this is deep. So I'll give you a week, have your reactions, cocoon. But here's the key. Don't take it out on anybody. Don't project. Do your best to stay centered, right? So I just observed and I journaled. I forced myself to really take note of what was going on inside of me because the ego desperately wanted to project onto others. That's the difference. Again, being in a conscious state doesn't mean we never have these emotions. It means that we know how to manage them differently from a transcendence perspective and from a productive perspective. So that being in mind, right, actually it does tie into the first key, which is taking a breath. When the ego gets really chattery, when we get really crazy and we start panicking and getting sort of crazy, the first step is noticing and saying, you know what, I'm going to take a breath. Take a breath. It seems so easy, and yet we forget to do it. Look over my head, just breathe. I have it on the wall as a reminder all the time, just breathe. The easiest exercise to do, regardless of what your practices are, is to do what we call box breathing. The box breathing is literally breathing in for a count of, say, 4, holding it for a count of 4, breathing out for a count of 4, and then holding it for a count of 4. That's why it's box. I always think up, over, down, over. Doing that for 3 to 5 minutes, or even for a minute or two, will activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which calms down the blood pressure, calms down the cortisone, allows us then to be a little more focused. Okay. So whatever that is, or whatever mindful practices that you have, like that box breath is so easy. Let's just do it now. Ready? Okay. So comfortable. Now breathe in for 4. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Continue. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's that easy. And you just do that for 3 to 5 minutes. It's funny. I had one person say to me recently, when she had learned this in a class I was teaching, and she said, the only thing that got her through getting through an MRI, because she has claustrophobia and she was freaking out, was doing this box breathing, right? It's so simple, and we forget to breathe. So that's the first thing. The second thing is staying centered, and staying centered meaning, again, is stepping away from a contentious moment, contentious thoughts, allowing the ego to have its temper tantrum without, like in an encasement, without it affecting others around you. And the easiest thing to do about this, because it gives us some space, is to walk away, to take 15 minutes, go walk out in nature, go walk out by trees. Also, turn off social media, turn off your phone. Do not get sucked in, because I'll tell you, it's very easy to just get sucked in and just stuck in there. And you get stuck in this wave of egoic finger pointing, and it's all externalized versus internally, right? Regardless of when we turn to the elections where people are having a lot of issues, it's whether we voted for the way it turned out or not, we have chosen to be here for this. I always say, if having is evidence of wanting, right? We create our realities, and meaning everything in our reality is something we've created or wanted to create. So there's a reason for us to be going through this. The key is to be our own investigators. And we can't do that if we don't take a breath, if we don't stay out of, stay centered, because we get lost in that wave of volcanic eruption, right? Again, it's all a message for us, as individually as it is collectively. The third thing is make sure you take time to do things that make you smile. We get really bogged down and pulled down, and people say, oh, well, it's easy for you to say. It's not. I had the week. I gave myself the week. I pouted and I moaned and I was angry and frustrated. And all the time I was watching the ego, and I was like, yeah. And I know it's all perfect. But that was because I knew to take a breath. I knew how to step away. I knew how to do meditation and clear my mind and stay centered. And then I would make sure to do things to make me smile. Something as simple as getting here on YouTube, looking for baby belly laughs, looking for kittens and puppies and things that soften your heart, that soften your moment, you soften your moment and allows you to smile. Funny memes. Now, okay, there's a line about sarcastic memes, and there's a lot going on right now. Well, those can make you smile too. But be careful because they can also get you incensed depending on where you are on the spectrum. So these are all little things. All three of these things are very little, but they're also very big because they are a basis, a foundation for us to be able to really be able to process through everything that's going on. Now, regardless of where you feel chaos, this is across the board, but I was guided to get on and talk about this because many of us are really stressed, and these simple things can really help to change a situation, and get us started and moving, because sometimes we get paralyzed in all that fear and anger and the things that the ego is chattering on about. So give it a try and let me know how it goes in the comments, and I will be back with more soon. Thanks.